Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero. We're continuing our series of To Be a Jew, Family Life, a Key to Happiness. And we finished part of chapter 7, but we're going to see today honoring parents. Honoring parents, and it comes from the Torah, and it says very clearly, honor your father and your mother, and you shall revere every man his mother and father. These two passages taken from Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, and Leviticus chapter 9, verse 3. These are biblical precepts which underlines the relationship that must exist between children and their parents. The sages equate the reverence for mother and father in respect accorded to them with reverence due to God and the respect that must be accorded to him. When a person honors his father and his mother, the Holy One, blessed be he, says, I consider it as though I were being honored. In Nida, chapter 31a, disrespect for parents, either one, is tantamount to disrespect for God. Children should be taught reverence for God by living examples by they're set by their parents. Such children are more likely to abide by the commandments to honor and revere parents, and although the environment and influence are undoubtedly a contributing factor, children who disregard their parents often have before them an example set by parents themselves in their relationship with their Father in heaven. Some general principles regarding children and parents are: if there's a conflict between the father or mother, says what the Torah teaches, it is the wish of the Father in heaven that must take place, since the parents too are bidden to revere him. But even when parents disregard Torah, nevertheless, never must a son or daughter speak arrogantly and angrily to a parent. Nevertheless, never may they be insulting or abusive, cussing at them, or wishing that they were dead, which basically stems a lot from children who have some type of issues growing up in hurt and pain. There is nevertheless no justification for such behavior, no matter how objectionable or vile the behavior of a parent might be. Naturally, this applies with even greater force to routine disagreements. One who curses a parent, or one who puts a parent to shame, is considered cursed by God himself. It is written, cursed be he who curses his father and mother. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 16. Where parents-child disagreement centers about a child's desire to go elsewhere to study Torah because he feels he could gain more, or enter into marriage with someone of his choice in a manner that is not contrary to religious law, and parents, for whatever reason, objects, the child is not required to abide by such objection. Grown children whose parents are aged and needy have a responsibility to clothe, feed, shelter, and care for them. Whatever is done for a parent must also be done graciously and not grudgingly. A married woman whose husband objects to her assuming obligation towards her parents is religiously exempt from these obligations. But if her husband has no objection, she too must do whatever she can. One is duty-bound to honor one's parent even after their death. A son performs such an act of reverence by the recitation of Kaddish each day for an 11-month period. But the son and daughter fulfills this duty by keeping yahrzeit, by contributing to charity in memory of the deceased, and by living a life that reflects credit upon those who gave birth to them and raised them to adulthood. According to the sages, we read that engaging in Torah study and performance of good deed is the greatest honor that one can bestow upon parents, living or dead. For people will then say, how praiseworthy are the fathers and mothers of who raised such a child. Education and upbringing of children is so important in Judaism. It stresses great importance on education. It is well known what Judaism means by education is not as well known. And normally the Hebrew word for education is hinuk. It does not mean only formal schooling, but it literally means a consecration. It refers to training the child for living a life, not only for livelihood, but also for every aspect of his or her life. The primary aims in education of Jewish children are to instill moral and ethical values of Jewish heritage. Number 2, to encourage active observance of Torah commandments, mitzvot. Number 3, to transmit knowledge of Torah, the Talmud, and the major Jewish sources. Number 4, create a strong sense of identification and with concerns for all the Jewish people. Only then is the importance attached also to acquiring knowledge in broad secular field and the training needed to earn a livelihood. And Jewish parents who only show concerns for the children's secular education as a preparation for a successful career are in fact providing only a small part of the total education called for by Jewish tradition. Modern Jewish parents who sincerely share the aims enumerated above have only increasingly turned to contemporary yeshivas and Hebrew schools for elementary and secondary education of their children. Within the framework of a regular school day, these schools provide an intensive program of Judaic studies in addition to the required general of secular study curriculums. Furthermore, such instruction places in the surrounding that fosters positive religious attitudes and Jewish commitment. The tendency of some, however, is to be less with the Jewish upbringing of their daughters than that of their son is wholly contrary to the spirit and expectation of the Jewish family life. Most of the goals of Jewish education apply equally to women. The Jewish woman shares full responsibility with her husband, and with her husband, the woman is also called upon to answer questions of young children and guide the development of yet another generation. To leave a young woman unprepared for such a role is to invite spiritual disaster. Every parent is obligated to train his children in the observance of the commandments, of the mitzvot, in accordance to the age and capacity of the child. For it's written, train a child according to his ways. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. From the time the child or the children begin to talk and understand a little bit, such short verses as Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Ho, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, or the blessing over the bread, Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz, and the importance of the response of saying Amen, should be taught to them immediately. Shabbat and festival songs and children rhymes and religious themes are also available to young parents as aids in such training. Talking to them regularly in the synagogues once they have reached the age which they can control their behavior and add to their training is inexcusable to wait until the child is of school age before beginning his religious training. To waste these very impressionable early years solely on fairy tales and stories and Baba Meisters, songs that have no lasting value, is irresponsible as well as foolish. A parent is further required to teach his children Torah and to see that they receive formal instruction in Jewish religious schools or studies. This in fulfillment of the biblical precept, and you shall teach them these words of the Torah to your children. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 19. No parent should be satisfied with a superficial smattering of such knowledge, but should make every single effort to provide the children with quality Jewish education. It's the obligation of parents to provide a child with education or skills needed to earn a livelihood for himself and when they grow up. A father is obligated to teach his son the skills ruled in the Talmud. There's only one problem in today's modern society, and when the courts, unfortunately, foster one parent over the other and create what they call parental alienation, which has become so vast in our society, especially our Jewish world, where the child is used as a piece in the controlling of the relationship even after the marriage has fallen apart. So he who does not do so, they added, teach him to steal. For an unskilled person who has no means of earning dignified livelihood may turn to theft or criminal or immoral means of sustaining himself. One view expressed in the Talmud, it says the following: it's the obligation of the parents to teach this child to swim. Baruch Hashem, I taught my both kids how to swim. The ex didn't know how to swim and didn't want to learn how to swim. One may infer from the ruling that the self-defense skills are so important in education of the children. We must, as a parent, never hit a child with cruelty or viciousness. So this is important, especially if you have a bad temper. Don't just whack it and hit your child for no reason. Even sometimes with reason, there's no reason to hit the child. Even where a beating is justified, as in the case of repeated mischievous, the dignity of the child and the possible pain inflicted should be carefully considered and proper restraint to use. In fact, it's forbidden for a parent to hit a grown child altogether. Grown, in this instance, is not determined by the age, but by the maturity of the child. Even if a child is below the formal age of maturity, there is no reason to believe the child may react by hitting back, either by words or deed. The parent is forbidden to hit him or her, but should chastise them only verbally or punish him in other ways by denying certain privileges. One who hits a grown child violates the biblical precept, "You shall not place a stumbling block before the blind." Leviticus chapter 19, verse 14. No, not do anything that will cause the unsuspecting to fall, to stumble, or falling or to stumble is applied also to ethical and moral and religious fallings, which one is forbidden to cause to provoke in others. Parent is forbidden to be supersensitive and over-demanding of his child, or cause respect due to him to become burdensome yoke. "You have to respect me." Wah! No, lest there be cause for a child to stumble in the fulfilling of the precept of honoring and revering parents. Parent is permitted to voluntarily yield or forego certain courtesies or considerations due to him by his child or children. Although a boy under 13 and a girl under 12 is not personally liable for the observance and religious statutes, it is forbidden to ask any child to do anything that is forbidden in religious law, even if it's for the religious purpose, such as carrying a talit or a siddur to the synagogue, and there's no boundaries. There's no eruv. It's important that a parent always show love for his children and be adequately attentive to their needs and their problems. Unless, again, as I mentioned, you are in a situation you have parental alienation and you are unable to be able to do this, nevertheless, let the child know that you care for them, you love them, and basically do anything to help them and actually follow through with that. Showering gifts of children acceding to their every request is not the same as showering love or showing love. Better a spanking from a parent whose child knows and feels that there is love and no rejection than a household full of gifts and parents whose child feels unloved, unwanted, and rejected and spoiled. A request denied, while temporarily irritating to a child, may be, depending upon the circumstances, be seen as granting the child as an indication of greater concern than indiscriminate granting of a request to do what he or she wants, or what you want. The religious education and training of sons and daughters on every level is crucial to the perpetuation of the Jewish heritage in the world of jewelry. It must be given top priority in place only in effort to directed towards the saving of lives in imminent danger. Let me just say this. It has to do with children in particular, especially children that are coming from divorced houses and where parental alienation have been utilized to even disallow the children from being able to speak with and to the other parent. This is the most abusive form of parental abuse towards children, when a parent tells the child, "I don't want you talking to your father. I don't want you talking to your mother." Even because there may be bitter issues still in that person, that adult, children should not be used as pawns in order to achieve the parental goal. Many homes have been destroyed because of ill-informed parents and an ill-informed community that tends to believe one side over the other. When you have a situation like that, and you've tried everything you can to try to resolve the issue for the benefit of the children, because the bottom line is the children takes precedence in this case for their well-being and their good, then even in such a case, each parent needs to be able to demonstrate without a shadow of doubt their love for their child takes precedence over anything physical, anything material. has no meaning. The welfare, psychologically, biologically, of your child is what God has entrusted you. And they have, in turn, only one obligation towards you, the parent, and that is to honor and to respect you and to let you know, I love you, Dad. I love you, Mom. And in this way, we strengthen our family ties, even in parental alienation, which has become so rampant in our society and in the Jewish culture. May God help us overcome this and strengthen us through this. And may God bless you and yours in this day. Shalom, shalom.